Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Tugce Tari-Roth. I'm one of the assistant directors of the WPTA competition, amateur competition for outstanding pianists. And you're Alain Mari, one of the competitors, and welcome.
Welcome. Good evening.
Yes. So I would like to ask you a few things, if you allow me.
No
Uh,
problem. You can.
Yes, so we think it's amazing that you're working full time and you're finding the time to practice on the side and doing something that's we think is absolutely outstanding. So first, please tell about yourself, where you're from, how old you are, and how you heard about the competition, and a little bit about your background and how you play piano, for example.
Okay. So I am from France. I live in Nice. I was born in Nice, and now I am 48 years old. So I hear about the competition, and I think it was on Facebook. For once, I received a relevant notification from Facebook, so I was interesting. And you asked me also for my background. So I started the piano at 6 with private lessons. And then a few years later, I entered the conservatory in my city, Nice also,
Mhm.
where I won the first prize it was in 1988, so more than 30 years ago.
Mhm.
And afterwards, I put the piano aside to devote myself to my studies. But several years later, in 2014, I seriously played the piano again. Unfortunately, I don't have any teacher right now. I would really like to have one, but unfortunately, there is no possibilities in my city conservatory in my region. So I prepared myself, trying to make my best.
Okay. I actually been to Nice. I did a festival there.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was 2007, I guess. Yeah, there was a nice either it was a piano festival or music festival I've done there, and we did concerts and a lot of faculty from France and different places in the world just came and
Hmm.
very successful. Yeah, that's actually very impressive. And my question is, when you start to practice or when you decide on doing, I mean, you had some previous education in the conservatory, so you have some sort of a background to guide yourself through. But when you sit down and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to play this piece or that piece, what is your criteria to choose the pieces? Or when you sit to practice, how do you guide yourself without a teacher?
So first, I think I like to play a piece I love. Sometimes he's listening some great pianists, and I say to myself, well, I would really like to play such the same piece as best as I can. So I choose first the repertoire I love, and then well, I will try to practice as much as I can to do my best to play this piece. And sometimes it can take me a very long time to achieve this goal.
And how long do you practice, and when do you find the time to practice?
So at that time, because I'm preparing the competition, the WPTA competition, so I practice maybe 1 hour or 2 hours a day, and maybe a little bit on the weekend. And during the week, I can only practice because I'm working the full day, even if it's at home, especially in that
Mm-hmm.
time. I work on during the night on a silent piano.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and I have no other choice, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And the weekend I can practice on a grand concert piano. Yeah,
At
it's my
home also.
parents home. My parents home, not my home, but in my parents home. I have a concert piano. I record my video on this concert piano to really to make work on the sound, especially because on the silent. Well, I can hear, but it's not the real sound. It's not the same action, keyboard action. So
Yes,
so
absolutely.
working on the sound and everything, every details that I just practice before the week, and on the weekend I can do really work on listening the sound.
Yes, of course, because electric piano has a sound that's already recorded on there. So you press and then you get
Yeah.
a feedback.
So it's an acoustic piano. It's not really, it's not a numerical piano. It's an acoustic with I mean hammer mechanic, hammer mechanic. But it just have a system that to become silent. So the mechanic stays the same, but of course the sound is electronic. Of course,
Yes, yes.
you're
So of
right.
course, when you practice on an acoustic piano, you can really see how the way that you touch the keys is going to respond back. So it's
Yeah,
mm,
exactly. For instance, and I'm practicing a lot of Scarlatti at that time, and it's with this I don't know with action and grand piano action is really not the same technique that you use on an upright piano, of course,
yes,
and especially on a silent upright piano.
yes.
So, for such pieces like this, it's really important to have a grand piano, concert piano.
So I'm curious, why did you not choose piano as a profession, and why did you come back to it in 2014?
It was a really hard choice to make. At that time, I was young. I was 16, and I told to myself it was well. It's very very hard to achieve this, and so I just said myself maybe I was. It's much more easy to make a normal work and to keep piano as a background as a hobby, and I choose that way, and I don't regret. I think it's good, but because I think it's a special life to travel every time to make many concerts, and it's very very hard to achieve this. So it was I was a little bit frightened at that time to tell me I will do this as my main job.
Yes, and what makes you? How do you feel when you play the piano?
Well, I can. It's for me. I escape from my environment, from my job. I don't. I forget the worries of the day. So it's another universe because I am. My main job is a computer engineer.
Mhm.
So I still work on a keyboard. Okay, but well, I can. What I like is in my job is I can create something, but on music practicing, piano practicing, I can also create something too,
Mhm.
even if it's if I play something if I play written music, you can always create something new, and I like it. So it's for me it's how it is the word is outlet. It's an outlet for me
Mhm.
to escape from my environment.
Mhm.
I will say that.
And why do you love classical music? You play solely classical music, correct?
So, I play mainly classical music. What I like in that kind of music? It's maybe it's richness of harmony, melody, and rhythm. I also like jazz music. I'm not an improviser, but I have made many jazz solo transcription, piano solo transcriptions by famous pianists like which I really love, like Errol Garner, Oscar Peterson, Bill Evans too. So I really like because of harmony. I have the really really harmonic, very very fine, which reminds some Ravel on some 20th century classical music. So I think both worlds are not so far from each other.
Yes, yes, true. And why do you choose to do competitions? Is it to give you a little motivation to keep going?
Yeah, it's for me. It's kind. Yes, I choose. Well, it's really new. I've made my first competition that year in 2020. First, well, I have a secret. I didn't play in front of an audience since many years.
Mhm.
So, but when I see this competitions, they were online. So I told to myself, maybe it's a chance to achieve the challenge. And so I first begin with the first competition. I won the first prize. It was online. Then a second competition, which was in Italy. The preliminary round was online, so I was selected to the final.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the final was in live, so in Cremona in Italy, and I was one of the finalists. So
Mhm.
I played during the in front of an audience, and jury. was quite good. So it's kind of challenge for me to achieve, maybe to make my pieces, my work more perfect. Well, as perfect as I can.
Mhm.
So it's a challenge to get more motivated, more motivation, and also to share with other people, because I sometimes I talk to other people on forums, uh, and so it's a good way to share to see if do you like it, do you like it like this, or
Mhm. Mhm. Well, talking about motivation, I mean, it seems like you don't lose your motivation to play, but if if you had lost it, where would you find it within yourself? Would you just say, "Oh, I really miss getting away," and is that what's going to be your sole center to find your motivation again?
yeah, I think one when I decided to restart, to redo again the piano, it was in 2014, 2015, 2015.
Mhm.
And because I have heard of famous great competitions like Chopin in Warsaw and Tchaikovsky competition, and I heard many new generation pianists like Lucas de Bargue, we know in France well, in Russia also he is very known, and George Lee, Amy Kobayashi, all these pianists. And when I heard them, I tell myself, well, I would really like to play not like them because they are professional, of course, but to play what they are playing. And sometimes it makes me I would really like to play some pieces I have heard during their competition, and it contribute to increase my motivation in that.
Mhm. Mhm. So,
Listening to others, so to other professional.
and so your ultimate goal, is there a piece you want to play as an ultimate goal, or do you say to yourself, when I reach this age, I want to have this repertoire, or what is that you ultimately want to achieve?
I have well on some when I really like pieces, like maybe some let's say Un Sospiro by Franz Liszt. I will I'm a little bit perfectionist, so I really like to go not to. I want to play to produce what I hear in my head as best as I can. But I have also ultimate goal to say to put the level very high, maybe on a third trills etude by Chopin, for instance. That it took me maybe 2 hours, no, not 2 hours, 2 years, 2 years in order to reach the good tempo, the good sound, the good dexterity to do it, and after that all these hours spent on this etude, it's a really pleasure to be pleased to hear that I can play it quite uh, with good satisfaction.
Mhm. I think that's the difference between kids playing and adults coming back to playing again. You don't have to motivate the adults wanting to play because they already have their job and they choose to do this. So they have some sort of inner motivation, and because they played at least about 10 years when they were younger, they already
Right?
know what they're doing. So it's actually home for them. They come back to what they were doing. But when it comes to children, for example, they usually when they reach 15, 16, that's very typical that they stop because they get interested in
Yeah.
other things.
In other things, yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. And then if they come back, it's usually a choice that's very, very strong because nobody's forcing them to do it. They already have all the responsibilities of today, and then they on top of it they do want to have it. So it has a very strong will within oneself to do something like this.
Mm.
So that's
You're right, but when I look at my children, I have one which is playing guitar, the other is playing clarinet, and the last one is playing piano. And sometimes they go by themselves. They go to the instrument, they play by themselves. So far, they are quite motivated. Let's wait for a few days, few years
yes.
to see the
Yeah, when they're 15, maybe they go to some
maybe
and then they come
yeah.
back to it. But yes. So you said that you do your research on Facebook to find the competitions and other things, right? Or you
Yes, it
Google,
was a notification. Yes.
yeah, you just look at notifications.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Any piano magazines that you subscribe to or you read or
Uh,
podcasts, YouTube?
At that time, no, not. I have maybe a few years ago, I had some pianist. What was the name? Piano magazine, pianist magazine. I don't remember the name, exact name. But I'm no. So far, I'm not reading such kind of because by lack of time, maybe
Mm.
I'm not reading such kind of magazine just at that time.
Do you also Google pianists on YouTube to feel motivated? Like, do you just, of course you do, right? The pieces that you play.
Yeah. So yeah. YouTube is the main. Yes, it's a main source of motivation.
Motivation, exactly.
Yeah. Especially now because when I was in conservatory, we didn't have such good platforms. But now you have great competition, great concerts in live with thanks to YouTube or other platforms. So it's really it's a gift. Yeah, it's
Yes,
really
exactly. And anything that you wish you had when it comes to some sort of online support or anything that can add you to your playing, practicing?
yeah, what something that could really help me how to play to manage with the stress, how to deal with the stress in front of an audience. So the main concern, my main concern in that, because I'm not well used to play in front of an audience. It's ages.
Mm-hmm.
So and then some advice on some pieces. Sometime I will really like to have some advice on some phrase, how to phrase this kind of Chopin or Scarlatti work or Rachmaninoff work. Or some.
And some contestants said that they have trouble memorization, memorizing. So do you also
Yes,
find that challenging?
it depends on what you are playing. What you are playing. If you play some, if you play a piece which is really fast, I think there is no really memorization problem because the memorization is on finger placement. But if you play very slow pieces, like maybe some, if you take Nocturne Opus 27 number 2 or Opus 48 number 1, it's really hard to memorize because you have to do an harmonic work in order to memorize this piece, and because it's too slow for fingers to remind the position. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it depends on what you are working, what you are playing. In fact.
So are you good with hearing the harmonies when you play?
Yeah. When I try to memorize a piece, I use, of course, finger position and also harmonic help. Yes.
Okay. Is there anything that you would like to ask your concert pianist or anybody famous, let's say Martha Argerich, and you just see? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, many things. Maybe how does she for in order to be so to me so it seems too so easy to play. So how does
Right?
he yeah so how to deal with stress, of course, so decontracted, so easy for her. And yes, for especially for her, how to play the one of the famous Scarlatti sonata, which is 141, so fast.
Yeah, the D minor, right? It's incredible how she does it.
Some advice on that. Really, that's kind of piece I will really like to have from her. Yeah.
But if it gives you any relief, I heard that she also gets very nervous before performances. Any pianist gets nervous before
I
performances.
think so. Yes,
Even
after.
yeah, even Vladimir Ashkenazi, he said himself, I wish I found a remedy for it, but he hasn't. So
Yeah.
I think the only thing that they do is that they feel the fear and do it anyways, and they just know how to deal with it. I mean, probably as soon as they step on stage and they sit down, they're
They
present
forget.
in the
Yeah.
moment, and as soon as you're present, you forget about the rest. Because usually stress is about calculating the past and the future, but not being on the
Yes,
moment.
right.
So
Yeah.
when you sit down and to start playing, then if you're really in the pieces, then you most likely, I'm
That's
guessing
right.
for them, you would just you will forget a little bit about that. Yeah. So anything that you would like to add?
Not especially. Yeah, it was a great pleasure to have this interview with you and to share some ideas. So it's a first for me. It's a first time too. I'm not used to this kind of interview, so it was really a pleasure.
Very good. Well, for us too. We
Yeah.
would like to improve also the competition and everything. So we want to get to know the competitors more,
Yeah.
and also add some support in the future. This is our first time that we're doing this,
Yeah. Okay.
and
That's
so
great.
the goal of this competition, actually director of the competition is a friend of mine. We did a piano festival together in New York, and we have the same goals of helping people, motivate them, and having them exposure also to music. And we also believe that music makes the world a better place,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
classical music, because we're all classical musicians.
You're
So it's vibe
right.
with it.
I agree.
But that's a different story. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
I
you to
wish
you.
you all the best for the competition.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, and yeah, and hope to see you also maybe next year.
Maybe.
Or
Yes.
maybe if you win the competition, then you don't have to come back.
I hope so. Yeah. Maybe.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening to you. Bye.